Okay, we're going to get started. So thank you all for coming this evening. My name is Adam Gaudette. I'm your town manager. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. So thanks again for coming. Certainly an important issue for you folks and the rest of the town. So we're happy to be here working on your behalf to hopefully get you a lot of information that will be useful as comes time to make decisions down the road. So my role tonight will just be kind of a co-host with Kelly Bowl and her staff, and Kelly is... Oh, hey. She's hiding, so she's hiding.
Hi, welcome.
That's Kelly.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
For those that don't know me, I'm Kelly Bowl.
Thanks to
Thank you.
Kelly, our director here at COA, Plumber's Place, and all of your staff, Amy and everybody else. So thanks for hosting tonight. They have a breakfast set up tomorrow morning, so that's why we're up here. So looking forward to that. But just as far as some other folks in the room, I just want to I want to thank NCTV. We have Bill, Aaron, and Harry Berkowitz here representing them. They're here filming. They work for the local cable access and familiar faces around Town Hall and elsewhere. In addition to that, this study that we're going to talk about tonight, it's a feasibility study, is being led by our Building Planning and Construction Committee. So this town has a lot of boards, like most towns, and you have a committee that's assigned to study projects, study buildings, to oversee architects, construction. They were involved in the new fire station project, the turf field, the new DPW, and a whole bunch of other projects. And there's a few folks in the room. Let's see, Brian Paulus, he's our chairman of Board of Selectmen also. I see John Gifford, Michael Boland is here, and Warren Fairbanks. And I think that's it. So it's a good representation of those guys. There's a lot of other meetings going on tonight. In addition, Selectman Wilson's here tonight, so I want to introduce him. So thanks for your support. So our job again is to work on your behalf to study this issue through the assistance of Mr. David Eisen and his team at Abacus Architects. So the Building Planning Construction Committee hired Mr. Eisen to study the issue, work with Kelly. They're going to run through some different options, obviously, and some other aspects about what the needs are moving forward and some of the deficiencies in the building. And then I'm going to come back at the end and talk about process, because I'm sure everybody wants to know how we're going to get this done, if this is something that you guys all feel you want to do. So with that, Kelly, you want to add anything, or turn it over to Dave?
I think it's time for David to...
Time for the show.
Okay, well, thank you very much for being here, and I'm glad you got your tickets last week, because this is completely sold out, but there are people watching at home, so that's a great thing. So my firm, I'm a principal at Abacus, and we do senior centers, community centers, recreation centers, community-oriented buildings all over the Commonwealth. We talk to a lot of communities. Every community is different. We learn a lot from what we've done other places, but we want to learn from you. So I'm going to talk about what we've been doing, raise some questions, and then really want to have this be a conversation. So partway through, I'm going to show some pictures and say, what do you want to have this senior center accommodate? And then at the end, I'm going to show 3 conceptual plans and ask for your feedback. So if you can put up with me talking for a little while, and there's going to be plenty of time from you, and it's really important to hear from you. And this is about, yes, the people in this room, the people on television, but it's also about all the citizens who are going to make decisions about whether to go forward with this. So this is really what we've learned and what we think is a good argument for pushing forward with the new center. Hopefully these buttons will work. So the existing facility, you're here, you know what this is like. It's kind of a handsome building, but never ever today would you design a senior center like this, as handsome as the building is. Whoa, it's 4 feet above the ground. If you have mobility issues, it's pretty tough. It's actually a 3-story building. Again, not great for mobility issues. The site is small. It's practically all covered with asphalt for parking, but there's enough parking space and not much left for green. And we know parking's important, but green's really important for physical health or mental health, there's no place to put it. The interior, you know it because you're here. Sure, it's functional, but there's some odd-shaped rooms that don't facilitate flexibility in the kind of activities and the number of activities that Kelly and her staff could have moving forward in a town this size. So, floor plans, these may be not familiar if you're not an architect, but they're buildings with good bones. You add a little here, you renovate there, you can make it work. This building has bad bones for senior center. Meaning, if you tore out all the walls, it didn't really make sense. The roof would collapse. There's nothing left. The kitchen's right in the middle. Well, you can't see why I point like that, so you're always walking around the kitchen and up and down stairs and up and down the elevator. I mean, you know this. And, you know, the offices are spread all over, not because the people here don't like each other, but because there's no place to aggregate offices together in a way that really works. If this is easily resolvable, and it could be resolved in right here and right now, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So the limitations of the site, it's away from the town center. If you live a block away, it's a perfect location. Most people in most places want to be near where they can go shopping and the bank and town hall. You're pretty far away. It's a small site with little green space. Parking's insufficient. Terrace. There is a terrace. It's hard to access. It's right on the street. And, you know, that ramp, they did a okay job doing the ramp, but if you didn't need it, I think everyone would be a lot happier. The building limitations, 3 stories tall, the entry's really cramped, offices dispersed. Things are hard to find. What we hear over and over and over, I want to be able to walk in the door and see what's going on and where my friends are, the convoluted hallway, the kitchen, 8,000 square feet. And this is sort of rough because the basement it's as big as the building, but there's only this much usable space despite the best efforts of Kelly and the staff to make use of it. So those are some of the limitations of programming. You just can't do what needs to be done. The upstairs is remote, and maybe the next to the last 2 bullet points. No room for open, dynamic social spaces. What we hear over and over again is, I come for the yoga, that's 45 minutes, and 2 hours later, I'm still here because I'm hanging out with my friends. This doesn't facilitate hanging out the way, community centers, senior centers, high schools, office buildings, it doesn't matter. People kind of want the same thing, and poor connection to the nature in the community. If you could walk outdoors and be in a wonderful green terrace and do yoga outside and ... But ain't gonna happen here. So this is basically saying, it's not working. People are trying hard, it's not working. So that is, one could say, that's one reality. You have a senior center that doesn't meet today's needs. And guess how the demographic trend lines are going? I don't know about you guys. I'm getting older, and my friends are getting older, and there's more and more need. A building that's too small isn't working. The good news is 44 Cross Street is a town-owned piece of land that's significantly bigger, and there is the opportunity to do a new senior center there. So that's what we've been studying. If we assume that this facility, and I put it in air quotes, but I think it's pretty clear, if we say it's inadequate, there's the opportunity to build a new one. We think that's what this investigation is about. So there it is. The school is that big white block within the orange outline. That school is going to disappear. and the contract, there's a demolition contract out there, so that big white blob, that will be gone. And the red outline shows the outline to the site. There's a town on property to the left and a church on property to the right. We've been having discussions with those people, and there may be the opportunity to work together. You know, what form that takes, we don't know. So far, our investigation has been saying, no, let's just stay within the red outline with that big white blob having disappeared. You see all of these squiggly white lines. That's the topography. Every line is a foot rise in the ground. So you can see at the corner of Linwood and Cross Street, you're not going to build much there. It's really steep. There are beautiful trees. Those will be preserved. Where the school is, it's reasonably flat. And I think we will bring in a civil engineer fairly soon just to, and we've already worked with the civil engineer on this site just to, you know, we want to make sure we're recognizing in the appropriate way the slope. So anyway, you don't have to pay attention to the squiggly lines, but it's a slope site and we know it. The new neighborhood is pretty interesting. I mean, along Linwood, you know, so there is that big house, the adjacent house on the far left. The school is there, the beautiful retaining wall. Linwood's a beautiful street. It's a nice neighborhood. Not that this isn't a nice neighborhood, but Linwood has some character. The lower left is Church Street. And, you know, there's a lot going on there. It is the commercial, the retail, one could say, kind of the civic heart. It's not that Town Hall is right on it, but Town Hall is right nearby. And the two images on the right are this site, trying to make the school disappear, because very soon it will have disappeared. There's a hill there, but it is, you can just, you know, it's a pretty substantial piece of land. So, the goals for the site, this comes out of discussions with Kelly and Adams and other people, you know, adjacent to the commercial, civic, educational, religious uses, large enough for all that stuff we talked about, for parking, terraces, and green space, outdoor recreation, to be able to do exercise, to have an exercise trail. You know, you don't want that in the parking lot in this building. Large enough for a one-story building. So, you know, if you imagine this building, which is too small, this is 8,000 square feet, spread out in one story, you need a bigger site, which we've got. Building in gray, like 100%, you gotta be able to roll in. Part of the surrounding community, and one of the punchlines is that last bullet point, town-owned property. We've worked with a number of towns who want us to do programming and planning for senior center and community center. Oh, where's the site? We don't have one yet. We want you to help us, and sometimes find something. And I've been jokingly telling people in the other town, this is a joke. Maybe you can build your new community center in Northbridge. They have a wonderful piece of property. They laugh, but they don't think it's very funny. So to have a town-owned piece of land that seems to be appropriate is a rare gift in Massachusetts. Building goals, cluster the offices for efficiency and welcoming reception. You know, you really need to have people who are working for you, working together with each other. And that provides a kind of security. There are different kinds of things that happen in the office that you don't want necessarily everybody to know. You know, maybe there's a back entrance to the office. You know, for a lot of people, the senior center is the place they go to get someone to listen to them, to talk to them, to bring up issues of concern. I mean, yeah, grade school, high school, college, you know, you never, people of every age have these issues, but often as people get older, there's less access to the kind of help they need, and this is, you know, the kind of place where you get it. easy to access kitchens in the right place, and a range of program spaces that are flexible, that you can open up walls, you can close them down. So these are some of the things that were established before we started designing, coming out of our discussions, and just what we've heard over and over and over. And again, to sort of repeat some of that, flexibility, social spaces that weave everything together, open to the outside, open up to each other, serve a broad constituency. That's a policy issue, but often it's easier to get a senior center approved if the answer isn't, oh yeah, we'll close at 3 o'clock. If the answer is at 3:30, we can open up to a whole broad range of other things, and it's easier if you're in the right location and you have more flexible spaces. And one of the points, one of the ideas is to engage the community in the design process, and that's what we're here for. So activity options, here are a bunch of pictures of stuff that could happen here. And if you say, we need a swimming pool, I will write that down, but I'll say right now, you ain't gonna get that. But, and who knows, it's not my decision, and you can bring it up, we've had towns where there is a constituency. But what kind of things do you want to do here at a new facility that either you could do here and want to make sure you don't lose the ability to do, or that you can't do here and really want it built in, arts, recreation, any thoughts on that?
In terms of things that you do here that you 100% want to see carried over there, or something that you're unable to do here that you'd love to see there? We can wait to the end, or you can bring it up now if you want, or we can also, Kelly can take a survey at some point. We can leave paper out at the front desk and people can fill something out, maybe a brief survey or something.
And the other thing to say is, everybody has everything they want, let's just stick with what we've got. And I am kidding, and you're right, you don't have to raise your hand here, but eager to hear if you are.
What I think would be great is, we don't have it here, but so many people have difficulty walking, and they walk very slowly, or they're in wheelchairs, and they have to walk from the outside all the way up into the ramp. It would be nice if you had an overhang, either up in front of the building, the back of the building, that the van or cars can come to, so those people wouldn't get drenched by the time they got into the building.
Yeah.
So
very reasonable.
Dave's going to show you when he does some concepts. There are better plans that we're looking at in terms of having a drop-off area. One of the things that we could add is maybe some kind of awning or something.
Yeah. And it's not shown on the drawings, but surprise, people tend to want that.
Yeah. I'd like to have game room big enough, a couple of pool tables.
Oh, I thought that would be brought up. What about a shuffleboard?
I want that in my office.
I visited the North Grove Senior Center. That is ideal. It's got everything. It's got a huge parking lot. It's all on one level. And what you're designing here, spaces, office by themselves and everything. There's the big kitchen. There's a dining hall that takes over 100 people. Then there's adjoining room for socializing and so on. That is beautiful. I've been also to Pembroke. I don't know if you're familiar with that one.
And then which one?
Pembroke.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that.
$23 million they spent there. There's a tennis court, a basketball court. This is...
Whether there's a room for tennis court, I don't know, but outdoor recreation, there's that. Okay.
Because the one in North Grove, what you described, they got a nice walking path, they can go outside. We were going to have a cookout out there.
Okay, no, it makes a lot of sense.
Just a thought on a couple of things. In terms of features within the building, I'd suggest that it would be nice to have some sort of an audio-visual area where people could come, sit there, watch a movie, talk about the movie, whatever it is, an area that's small, big enough to accommodate a certain number of people, whatever the
Like
right
a
number is.
presentation?
Say again?
Like a presentation?
Well, I'm thinking of that as a separate area. If I wanna come with 2 or 3 people and sit and see a movie and talk about it, there should be a space for that. And if you wanna have 148 people like this and give a presentation, there should be a space for that. That's thought
Yeah,
number one.
yeah.
Thought number 2 is probably more for Adam than you, in terms of parking. I don't know what your thought is in terms of area for parking.
So we have 3 concepts we're gonna show you. We talked a lot about parking and access through the site, out onto the different streets, so.
And I'll save my comment for that.
So we're talking about uses right now. Uses.
Just for the sake of running fiscal responsibility, we should also think that we also have certain services at the community center. We have a basketball court, we have a swimming pool, we have a lot of access, so, you know, you don't want to take and duplicate everything.
That's right. We don't want to compete with White Community Center. That's also the heart of our community, correct? So we will not compete with them, and we are very conscious of that in our planning, absolutely.
Are there things that the community center doesn't have that you think, oh my gosh, this is an opportunity to get them?
I can think of personally.
And we do partner with them.
Yes, I know you do.
Yeah.
Swimming and stuff,
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
For the pool.
I saw a pickleball court, and I said, well, they do that at the community center.
They do. And we'll keep it there.
We're not allowed to talk about pickleball,
No.
tennis courts, or anything like that.
So maybe,
Been there, done that.
that this is what you don't need because you have that already.
Joyce?
I would love there to be enough rooms so all the wonderful groups that we have could meet in solitude without having to close off the dining room or have the guy cleaning the floor on the other side of the wall that's closed off the dining room. There are wonderful groups that meet here, and we really need our space to meet.
And what size rooms, I mean, you get a meeting with 4 people or 40 people,
Well,
how many,
I would say about at least 30 people.
30 people, okay? So meeting for 30, and, you know, that's, there should be flexibility, 20, 40, yeah, but you're talking, yeah, okay.
I thought it was a library. We have a lot of books, you know, in the middle of the hallway, you know, to look through. People just want to grab a book or whatever, just to sit in a quiet place, you know.
So you're saying you could call it a reading area with books and a place to sit?
Because again, we don't want to compete with the library. We have a beautiful library. Right, yeah. But we do want to have quiet spaces like that where we have books available, like we do.
Yeah. And one way to look at it is, if you make books and a place to read them available, there may be people who say, I hate your collection here. I'm going to go to the library. So I'm not sure they're at odds with each other. Encouraging reading is probably, the library would probably say, please do. But yeah, don't need to repeat the library.
I was wondering if there was a place that people could be brought up to speed on technology, that we're not all able to know how to run our computers or, you know, things like that, that people aren't, would like to be more aware of and use. And I thought maybe there'd be a place that someone could either teach or that is affluent in that area.
And it's interesting, because 10 years everybody wanted a tech room. Now, every place is a tech room. Tech. tech. So certainly to be able to do that, it is, so whether it's a dedicated area or essentially a whole bunch of spaces that are set up with the technology, you could do that. But that's a really good point. And there are people who, may not even have, wireless at home. They come to maybe the library or the senior center. So maybe there are, you could call them workstations or something where anyone could come in and use the computer. So I can get tech room / computer access.
I'd like to have a classroom.
Classroom.
So people want to learn a language, someone can come in, teach Spanish, Italian, Greek, or read the classic instead of crazy novels.
Yeah.
Like Plato, Socrates, this sort of thing. Or just teach a class. Or
Yeah,
science.
yeah.
I'm sorry, science.
And in terms of the physical layout, there could be a room that's a classroom from 10 to 11, and 11:15 to 12:15 is the yoga class, which means there's closets, there's storage for whatever, Blackboard or whatever. But certainly, absolutely, to accommodate that seems
I'd
like
like
a
an
critical.
all-weather track too, but
We what?
all-weather track.
Yeah.
There is at the middle school, yes, you can just go
Yeah, that's
right.
right. Yeah, right.
Should I'll let you do that. Oh, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, I'm a computer geek of sorts since 1985. I built my own. But I agree with what you said. I have so many friends who know how to start it up. That's about it. And do the browsing and all that. And I think what you meant was to have somebody come in, set aside time for maybe 3 or 4 people at a time, and teach. Now, certainly, if that did occur, I'd be willing to offer my services.
I'll be your first student.
I understand everything about computers. I'm crazy on that stuff. You know what I mean?
I'm having trouble. I have my hearing aids in, and I can hear pretty well, but I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch it.
Well, what I'm saying is that, a setup of about 4 computers, so you could get individuals on each one, and then somebody could teach them, and they could ask all their questions, which there's a lot of questions. I have friends that just ask them all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you had turned it around to saying, well, there's a computer here and there's a computer in another part of the building there. And that wouldn't do for that sort of activity. You need like 4 computer banks. And you'd have to decide whether it's going to be Apple or Windows, but I would recommend Windows because that seems to be pretty prevalent.
Well, that's a detail we can work out.
Yeah.
But thank you, it's good to know that.
And then maybe it's for classes, it's for people who have computers at home and it's set up. It's not, I have trouble having them, can I check out for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, we don't show that yet, right?
Wait.
Maybe it's the next one.
Were you,
We lost it from the.
I'm sorry? Okay.
Yeah, we go with.
Okay. Should we, okay.
Couple more?
In terms of the flexible event space, I volunteered a lot of the events, specifically like the big events where Amy has a lot of musical performers come. And I think it's important to maybe have a designated space that they can perform at that's a little bit better accessible than what we have now.
Yeah.
A lot of times we are putting them in spaces where tables should be or where people eat, and sometimes when you're seated at a certain table you can't see the whole band, and it's very cramped. I've been to the Franklin Community Center, and the way their event space is held, I was the furthest table away, but it's elevated a little bit, and there's a ramp going up, so, you had things that could be wheeled up, musicians, and I think that's important to have that better laid out for the things that they need.
And one thing we do a fair amount, especially in smaller community centers, senior centers, is have a removable stage. It fits in a closet, because sometimes if the stage is there, it's like, whoa, what's this step doing here? We invite it, but there are ways to provide for that and be, with some flexibility. But it's a great thing, I hear that a lot,
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Morse. I live across the street from the Cross Street School. So I haven't ever been to the senior center, so I'm interested in being here. I don't really have any input on the building itself. But outdoors, I'm very interested in seeing a lot of green space, which you talked about, park benches, perhaps a garden that people could work in. And I think it's very important to us in the community is to have a playground. And I think the integration of bringing children in where the senior center is would be really healthy for everybody. And the fact that we're actually losing a playground by the whole development of it is a great loss to the neighborhood.
Yeah.
We only have one playground, one real playground in town, and that's at the school. And no one can go there during school time. So it's a loss to all those parents who have kids from, baby to 4 years old and have no place to go for playgrounds. But I think it would be a great opportunity to have older people and younger people interacting. And I think the studies say it's healthy for everybody to get that kind of exposure. So that's just something.
And they're kids whose grandparents are 3,000 miles away who are looking for a grandma figure, and there are grandmas whose grandkids are ...
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense.
So that's just my input from the neighborhood.
David, quickly on interior space utilization, I know they're not aesthetically pleasing, but with mobile petitions being in use and making the space adaptable, Kelly and the team to have a room for 100 one day and 4 rooms for 30 the next. And I know they're not tasteful, but aesthetically, but they're.
We have some examples of them, so.
Great, okay, just thought I'd throw that out.
I knew you were gonna ask that.
And
I've seen enough of them by now, thank you.
That's definitely the idea. And one thing, you'll see a lot of these things in the plans. I don't want to, cut off discussion, on the ideas, but yeah, absolutely, that makes so much sense.
The community living room and lounge I think is important.
Yeah. Just like call it social space. And those are often the most popular places. There are people who come to senior centers and community centers to hang out with their friends, take a class. Not that people can do events or other things, but they feed off of each other. So that's it. That's a great thing.
I think the outdoor space is really what we're lacking here at the senior center. And I think that's a huge thing to have an outdoor space where we could have outdoor events. We could have the old-fashioned picnics that everybody's so used to, back in the day. We were talking about outdoor gardens, things like that. Those are things that we really wish we had here, and we 100% do not. We tried putting a little patio in the front, and the noise is so bad with cars running by. I tried having a concert out here, and we couldn't even hear. So outdoor space for our senior population, I think, is huge. That would be the best thing.
Yeah.
I think would be the best thing for our seniors.
And the good news is the site's big enough that can be accommodated. Is there? Well, maybe we should. This is really great. If you come up with other ideas, bring them up. Maybe I'll go forward and sort of show you what we've been thinking of. So working with Kelly and Adam and others, Building design starts with, you could call it a program, a list of spaces that are the starting point. They're not the ending point, but how much space do you accommodate? So we talk a director's office, assistant director's office, outreach office, a wellness center, office storage, including medical equipment. These are all kinds of things that's easy to forget or lose track, oh, 2 offices is enough. Well, actually, it's not. And then you'll see in the second block, large activity room, medium activity room, small activity room, game room, and storage. And you'll see in the plans, these large, medium, and small rooms can be divided into thirds or into half. A commercial kitchen, meals on wheels, kitchen storage, and then bathroom sink storage. So this was the starting point. So that's 13,300 square feet net to gross. You know, next to the last line, walls have thicknesses. You gotta build floor space. And this came out of the discussions, but it's in line with what we're doing elsewhere. I mean, you know, nobody feels like they can live with 9,000 square feet. You know, it's, oh, well, we're gonna have to do an addition next year. There are senior centers, community centers that are right-sized. Within a week, they're too small, because build it and they will come. Suddenly, there's already, you don't have enough space. So this seemed like a right balance, given that it's expensive. So 32,000 square feet with a basketball court and a swimming pool is like, that's probably not gonna happen, and it's not even necessary. So we did 3, you could call them options. So this one, and I'll describe these in general terms, there's, to the right, you'll see a parking lot. There's something like 74 parking spaces. So, you know, is that the right way to do parking? It's obvious where it is. It's easy to find. You know, you're looking at it from Cross Street, but it's simple. The building is to the left of that, and I'm going to show you the plan. So the building has a fairly narrow face along Cross Street, because a lot of space on the right is taken up with parking. And, you know, to the left is the old school headquarters. We're sort of leaving that alone. And, you know, a simple way to divide the site, you'll see to the upper left of the school, you'll see this sort of ovally thing. That's to suggest there's a walking path. You know, it's an outdoor space. You know, there are a lot of opportunities. And I'll go to the floor plan. So you have, call them 2 bars, those yellow blocks. The one on the right and the upper left is a curve. That's a reception desk. And the offices are there. Oh, and I should say, you can see those 3 rectangles. Like right here, that's a drop-off. And
So the access would come in, and then drop off areas right in here, and then you can exit.
yeah, or park. And then, right, so you get dropped off. There could easily be a canopy. You come in, there's an entry, there's the reception desk. People like to come in and have a reception desk, and the people who work and do want to know who's coming in and out. It's an issue of safety, of accountability. And then coming down from there is you can see tables and chairs and you know, sort of, you could furnish this in a lot of different ways. You could have seasonal, decorations and a Christmas tree. I hate to use this terminology, but people understand it. It is the shopping mall model, except it's not about selling things, but shopping malls too. There are the stores, but people wander down the middle, they sit down, they meet with their friends, they get ice cream. So this is hardly fully developed, but that's that meandering space that goes top to bottom. And then there's below the
center quarter, essentially, with options to rooms on either side, with sitting areas.
Yeah, and then here's kitchen. There's a separate place for deliveries. Here's the kitchen storage, meals on wheels, and then this is a large multi-purpose room. You can see ... It can be divided up into 3 or into 2, or a big event, 150 people. You leave it open. These are closets for storage. So tables and chairs here today, gone in 5 minutes. And then here are glass doors, glass doors, glass doors. So if you're sitting here, you get a sense of what's going on there. Oh my gosh, look at what we're doing, that looks so much fun. And we can have more glass, less glass, but that's the other thing that makes it the shopping mall model. It's about window shopping for activities. Yeah.
Have you, put in a space for the food pantry, which I understand
Yeah,
was
yeah,
only
yeah,
there?
yeah, the food pantry's right here.
Right next to the kitchen.
And don't get
Oh.
overwhelmed or nervous about the number. This is just the initial.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Did you talk about a food pantry or a pantry for the kitchen?
No, food pantry where we give food
Yeah,
out.
yeah, no, that's in there, that was on the program and it's in all the plans, because we understand how important it is. And here it is, it's right next to the kitchen, so a truck can pull in and deliver to the food pantry, and deliver to the kitchen, so.
I just want to add, I'll load this up on the website tomorrow morning. So if you go to the Northbridge website, you get to the front, there's a projects button. Click on the projects button. I think the top one is this and the demo for NES. And then there's also a couple other projects that we're working on. But I'll have this up there tomorrow, and then you can click on it. You can zoom in and you can see the specific. It'll be a lot easier to see.
In the upper left is the game room, there are bathrooms, and then a small multi-purpose room they can split in two, and a medium multi-purpose room. So people were talking about places for performance, they were talking about places for meetings. So you open the sliding partition and you can have a meeting with 60 people, you close it and you have 2 meetings with 30 people. And the idea with the closets is there are easels in there for the painting class, you put them back and pull out the yoga mats. That it's really flexible and easy because of storage is everywhere and partitions are everywhere. And then these outdoor terrace, so you can come out from the social space lounge, you can come out from the multi-purpose rooms and sit outside in that oval. You can do yoga out there, and on the far left, there's a bigger curve. It's also an outdoor terrace with the idea it spills from the inside to the outside, and there's for the drop off, there's a fairly big terrace. Is there, the terrace is too big? Is there not enough green space? I mean, there are all kinds of things. But really about making social connections and connections to nature is kind of woven into this. And you'll see some community center programs, hallways, 1,600 square feet. 8 feet wide. Who needs that? This is 0 square feet of hallways because the social space isn't a box that you go inside. It's a connective tissue that ties everything together. And some people are familiar with that. This is why I say shopping malls. Some people, shopping malls are the only place they see it. Schools today, 10-foot by quarters lined by lockers. Like, you don't see that anymore because it's no more popular today than it was when we were kids. And I was on the Mass School Building Authority Designer Selection Panel, picking architects for schools. So I've seen like 120 school plans in the past 8 years. And the designers talk about exactly the same. The issues just resonate as being timeless issues. Getting close to other people, having fun, a place to curl up with a book. Seems like that's a timeless thing. If anyone says, I hate that stuff, I'll write that down. But people tend to be sympathetic to it. So here's another version. And you can see the parking is primarily in back. You can come in from Cross Street, but rather than seeing 120 feet of asphalt as you go down Cross Street, you see a fairly narrow band. The parking, I should be, okay.
This is the narrow band?
Yep.
What is parking in
on the side, and then a large parking area, and then again, an exit out this way, because this side, same.
And you could say the downside is that most of the parking is hidden, and you could say that's the upside. Most of the parking is hidden in the center of the block where you're not staring at it. But because there are two drives, there shouldn't be a way in and a way out. It's not particularly confusing. And then in the upper right-hand corner of the building, you'll see there are 5 cars there. Those are drop-offs. And you'll see these squiggly lines to the lower left of the building suggesting playground, shuffleboard court, you know, you name it. Horseshoes, that seems to be really popular, and, you know, there's whatever, you know, there's all kinds of stuff you can do. And here's a blow-up of the plan. That S-curve in the middle suggests you have this social space, but you can have a wall, maybe it's this tall, maybe it's this tall. Within the flow of that space, there are quiet places where you can sit with a friend or two, and you're not cut off, but you're sort of separated enough that you can have a quiet conversation. So that space could take, you know, all kinds of forms, and it can be flexible, get rid of the S-curve and put in the Christmas tree and bring it back. And then you'll see the same elements on the bottom bar on the far right with the curve is the offices. To the left of that is the medium multi-purpose room. To the left of that is a small multi-purpose room. In the upper right is the call it the large multi-purpose room. To the left of that is the kitchen, and the upper left is the game room. And there's somewhat of a similar organization that they sandwich the small social space. The social space is open to terraces on both ends and connecting inside and outside. And you can see the squiggly lines on the left. And one thing to note is this is really typical of senior centers, that the large multi-purpose room is next to the kitchen. So on a typical day, it becomes 3 rooms, and 1 room is used for daily lunches. That's a common thing. So next to the kitchen, the tables may be 4 days out of 5, the tables are there. You only get rid of the tables if there's a big event. So that's a really typical thing. But then you have a big dinner for 150 people, you open it all up, and you know, the kitchen is where you need it. And then the kitchen can serve the social space, but then the kitchen is also, and you can see at the top center, it could serve food to the outside if there are activities, and there's places for a truck. So this is about, you know, as in your house, the kitchen in many ways is the life of the party. You want it to disappear when it's filled with dirty dishes, but you want it to connect to everything, be practical under different situations. So similar considerations here. And then, so this is a bit different. This is a U-shaped building around a courtyard. So the other two, the main sort of focus was that interior space sandwiched between the program areas. This says, what about focusing on an exterior space? You know, this is not San Diego, but it is beautiful weather 6 months out of the year, and even if it's covered with snow, you could walk out there, you could look at it. And then wrapped around is social space. It's not so much big sense social space that's divided up, but it's a kind of a winding pathway with little places to sit. That's what those circles and bump outs are. Along the bottom are small and medium multi-purpose rooms. Upper right is large multi-purpose room and kitchen, and then offices to here next to the drop-off. So all of these have essentially the same program. This is not about small, medium, and large. Do you need 10,000 square feet, 13,000, or 16? I think we sort of said, this seems about right. That doesn't mean you couldn't reduce the size or enlarge the size. And there's nothing cast in stone about small, medium, and large multi-purpose rooms. But given that you can divide those up into smaller elements, and then, something like here, that could be the computer area. I mean, any of these, you could set up dedicated areas for smaller things like that. So none of this is like, we're done here. This is just, it's just more than a skeleton. So if you said that the first game, narrow face along Cross Street, wider face along Cross Street, and then this is about a courtyard. And you can see the parking ramps all the way around it. Some on the left, some on the right, some in the rear. It's a loop parking, so it should be fairly easy. And then here's the enlarged version. So maybe now's the time to say, is this seem to kind of three different versions, or one could say the same thing? Are there things that are like missing here? Like, why don't you have this or that? And any sense of, you know what, I don't want to see that parking along Cross Street. I like, so any comments, my question is, okay, your turn.
I have a question. Where are the bathrooms?
Outside.
There are the bathrooms here.
Point it again, please. Okay, where's the kitchen?
The kitchen is right there.
Too far away. You need more bathrooms.
Yeah.
You need more bathrooms.
And so here's
And they
a,
don't have to be male and female, they can be whatever,
yeah.
And make sure that they're handicap accessible.
Yeah.
And I also was, looking at it, thought, many times that and you can attend to it, someone has an accident. An accident.
Yeah.
Okay? And you need to have a place to clean up. So one of these bathrooms, or a small room that could be accommodated for blood pressure taking, for podiatrist, for a shower, and, clean up, or just because somebody feels a little bit woozy, we need to have some kind of a medical area.
And there is, in all of these, there's a wellness room that's part of the office. So it's...
I'm talking about a separate, not...
It's walled. It was all walled in, one entry. One entry from the office.
One of the biggest things that you need is to feel secure, safe, and privacy.
Yeah.
Sitting next to Kelly's office, having to bring somebody in to have a shower, no, not gonna happen.
So do you feel like this is a room that you shouldn't have to go through the office to get to it?
No, what I'm saying is these are things that should be incorporated.
Yeah.
That, that you're the architect, you can figure out where it needs to be. But I know that if you're in the far end, like down here, this is a small area. But if someone's down here and they have to accommodate the facilities, they come up all the way through this way. With this plan, if you put the bathrooms, they don't need to be gigantic things with fancy anything, just a stall.
Yeah.
They're the farthest away from the dining area.
I'm sorry, say again?
The bathrooms are the farthest away from the dining area.
And that's what I'm saying.
Under this design.
They need to be readjusted so they're in the proper places.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. I mean, this has not been, and it has not been, this is very much in flux, which is the reason we're here. On this, just because it's easy, there's a male and a female bathroom, and more and more and more, we're hearing and doing single-use, multi-gender bathrooms.
Do you have a male and a female bathroom?
Yeah, no, and these would be, there would be a handicap stall, but you're suggesting a separate handicap bathroom with the sink and the toilet.
You're not stuck on 13,000 square feet, right?
Yeah,
You are? You can't make it big?
no, it could. That doesn't take that much, it just takes some planning.
13,000 square feet shouldn't cost that much more.
Yeah,
You can throw it in for nothing.
yeah, and you know, I can show you other plans we've done that don't have a single male-female bathroom, it's all multi-use. And I think at least from a couple of people I'm hearing, yeah, that's what we need and want. Okay, let me just a question, is there anyone who prefers a male bathroom and a female bathroom? Okay, sorry about that.
That's good.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that. Who likes the old-fashioned way of doing it?
Yeah, male and female.
As opposed to individual bathrooms?
Yeah.
Single use.
Yeah.
I got that.
Because reasonably often, we have clients who say, want multi-gender, individual bathrooms that aren't gendered. I mean, some of it is about whether you put an M or a W or don't, but individual bathrooms sound like some completely accessible.
One of the things I noticed in a lot of commercial buildings, there's never enough bathrooms for women.
Yeah.
You see a long line for women, and the guys are in and out, you know?
Well, building code has changed. We're doing a recreation center, and by the building code, there need to be 7 toilets in the women's room and 3 in the men's room. And our clients are like, whoa, what's wrong with you? But anyway, no. Yeah, no, that's been a common problem. Yeah, want it to be avoided.
And make sure that all the bowls are
High.
high.
Okay. Yeah.
Just hard to them like that.
Yeah, and hopefully we will get to the point where we can for the moment, these are really good comments.
Some of us who have assistive devices for walking, whether it be a cane or more seriously a walker, it's very difficult to get it into a stall.
Or to even open the door, right?
Excuse me?
Or to even open the door.
Right, or, that's my next thing. Thank you, Kelly. And it's impossible, if you have a walker, to be able to open the door, get the walker through the door without the door hitting you in the foot or the head or other body parts, and get into the bathroom with your walker, and then out again. So if you could have one of those supermarket, super door openers as you approach it in the ladies' room, or the dental ladies' room, or both, that would be such a big help.
And under certain conditions, building requires push-button operators. The building code might not require this, but I'm hearing that you require it and requesting it. So I think the idea of having push-button automatic operators, whether they're required or not, is a good thing. I mean, you're raising a really good point.
There are many people who will be very grateful.
Yeah.
On that note, there is a thing, I work in a building up in Chelmsford, it's a high-tech building, and they just redid it all. But they do have a separate men's bedroom, bathroom, separate women's bathroom, but then for handicapped, they have a separate bathroom that's just a single door, that's a, you know, whoever gets there first kind of thing. But it does have an automatic push button, door opens in, and you take care of all of it, and even coming out, it's an assisted door. That way you have the men's, the women's, and a special kind of room.
Don't call it special.
It's sort of like
Well,
a family bathroom.
It's a family bathroom, right?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's fine.
Because sometimes there might be like a female who needs help toileting and her husband is the caregiver, and you can't go in the ladies' room with her, but then she can't really go in the men's room. So that individual bathroom, if the wife's helping the husband or the husband's helping the wife, they can just go in their own bathroom.
Yeah, 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 no, that makes a lot of sense.
David, Gene and Strauss.
The theaters have those now.
Where, how many areas of bathrooms are you planning?
Well,
one for the whole thing, or?
At the moment, all three plans show bathrooms concentrated in one area.
Because sometimes that can be a helpful long walk.
No, I think that's a really good point. It may be, and especially if there isn't like a men's room and a women's room, that they're individual bathrooms, that there's a few over here and a few over here. So excuse me, so wherever you go, right nearby. I think it makes a lot of sense.
I have another little comment. I have a friend who was on the building committee for the new Upton Senior Center. And when they put the bathrooms in, they put them in, as Bunny was saying, low, some of them wide, one high, some of them were low, yeah, third grade. And Senior Center opened, and that's when they realized their mistake, and they had to go back in and take them out and put in the higher toilets.
Comfort high toilets.
At least 16.5 inches, if not more.
But this is just the auto. Okay, let's see. Okay, sorry.
Oh, we don't want that.
Yeah.
Ruin the surprise.
And this is yeah.
I'd love to piggyback on this bathroom conversation. I don't want to take away from the senior center conversation at all. We're very grateful that you're considering bringing the food pantry along with you. Along with that conversation, we also serve a lot of seniors and folks that may have disabilities, and historically they're not coming into the building while they are waiting to be served. Our lines are getting longer and longer, and so I'm hoping that further along in the process, maybe when we get further down the line, decide what the building's going to look like, we might be able to have a conversation about whether they might be able to come into the building and whether it might be accessible out there, whether we might be able to put some benches or whether there might be a ramp in a bathroom area somewhere close by to that entrance so that folks could be a little bit more comfortable while they are waiting to be served.
Well, we're waiting for the bathroom.
For the food pantry service. The food pantry service.
Oh, okay.
And that serves the whole community, not just.
Yeah. And this is why we have its own entry on the outside.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah. And it may be that not all of these details will get worked out.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
I
taking
know
notes of
it's
these
right.
are all good points, and some of them I'm like, yeah, of course it should be done that. You know, we're trying to get this as a first pass.
Right.
The variations that we're trying to get. And before, things develop incrementally. First question is second question is where are you going to put it? What in general is the program? We're talking about orientation and whether every one of these things will show up in the plan or not, and whether everyone agrees they're right, want to be as close as possible. And all of these issues are so fundamental, I'm not walking too far, and I think we're around, and the idea is programs. We're thinking, we're hoping, even with the slope of the site, like, no ramps. That would be a really good start. You know, I think everyone would be overjoyed not to have that ramp, and it was a brand new building, and it was like, there's a ramp, how much money did we pay? And so that's, at least for us, as a starting point, unless you're on a site like that, and it's like there's no choice. But even with the slope, I think we can accommodate everything with, you know, without any ramps. Okay, and you know, so these three versions have a lot in common. Everything on one floor, facing the street, access from cross street, drop-offs, generous terrace and landscaping, open social space, and right size and number of activity areas. We think we're pretty close. And the differences are orientation in relation to cross street, location of drives and parking, relationship of program spaces and social spaces, relationship of interior to exterior, and the layout of terraces, greens, landscape, and pathways. I haven't heard in all this great conversation, I haven't heard anyone say, I hate the courtyard, I love the courtyard, I like this orientation, I like that orientation. It may be, everyone's fine, we with all of them, which is fine. You know, we can have a conversation, but if there are any, you know, that versus that, if there was any sense like, oh, no, this is a much better direction, yes.
Is there any difference in the amount of parking?
It's about the same, you know, about 75 parking spaces. You know, and if there was a little under, we could add a little, so there's nothing fundamentally, oh, we can get a lot more parking. Oh, one thing I forgot to, I'm going the wrong direction, okay. Just in the upper right-hand corner, there's a suggestion you could connect the parking lot for the senior center with the municipal parking. They don't all show that, but that's at least an number.
So the town owns the parking behind the buildings on Church Street. In this area here.
Is that behind Clifton's?
Correct, yeah, behind Clifton and then heading up Church Street, going towards the light. So the light is obviously over here. So the town bought land in there, they have easements there, so there's egresses that go in and out on Church Street. And one of the suggestions would be to have a either pedestrian access or vehicle access, because there is additional parking over there. We've also had discussions with St. Patrick's about events, sharing the parking here, for additional parking. And then, of course, if there's, depending on what ends up here, for at certain times, this parking will be available also. So we have the opportunity for 75 plus 15 to 90 plus 25 plus whatever.
And in addition, I just want to point out that two of the neighboring locations or organizations are churches that also have parking lots. And we've had conversations with them as well about partnering. We're there during the week, they're busier on the weekends. There's a lot of room for partnerships there. So that would be another win, I think.
And one good thing is we have almost twice as much parking as we have now, shown on all of these. Plenty of green space, one-story building, you know, it's not so bad. One conclusion we could draw, these are really good points. The points are primarily about important but small issues, is maybe we're on the right track. Maybe this is about right. It's not going to get built tomorrow, but it is going to get developed further. And the idea is, I mean, let me just go to, we went through this. Next step, refine orientation on site, refine program, refine inside-outside relationships, refine, get cost estimate, review with town, and build support. So this is getting pretty real.
Yep. I'm just gonna step in.
Okay.
If that's okay? And then you're gonna stick around in case we have any questions?
Yeah.
Because I think there's only one slide after, right?
Yeah.
So again, for anyone that came in late,
You
I
got,
haven't said anything.
you got the parking though, remember? My question was about parking. You got the
Yeah.
parking. My turn, thank you. Hey, I'm a taxpayer, I pay your salary. And you work very hard and you earn every penny. Now, talking about parking, something that, and this is something, has nothing to do with the building, but it's with parking, and it involves, it snows here. It still snows here, and snow is very near and dear to my heart for a long time. In thinking about parking, you gotta find a place to put the snow. So, I'm not making suggestions, I'm raising that as an issue. In the design, figure out where those poor guys who've been up since Tuesday at 6 a.m. and it's now Friday, now they gotta plow all the municipal parking lots, and they gotta put the snow somewhere.
Yeah.
That's the first part about parking, just figure out where you're gonna do that. Part two is perhaps at some point, when the building department of the Department of Public Works has 4 or 5 people, they can go out and do all the sidewalks at the town hall, at the library, at all the municipal buildings, and the senior center. And wouldn't it be nice if there was a place that had, where you could store a snowmobile, some ice melt, snow blower. And a couple of shovels and some ice melt. So instead of them dragging snow blowers around from building to building on a trailer in a snowstorm, they had it right there, and all you had to do is drag it out of the storage, do the marks, get everything cleaned up and be ready for business.
And often we'll do an exterior storage door.
Yeah, something,
Storage levels.
there's a place to put stuff, and maybe, you know, like they bought everything in the world for the schools, trucks and lawnmowers and stuff, you know, buy a snowblower. Or a snowmobile.
And again, this is one more thing that may not be completely worked out in the next month, but it should, it needs to be done.
It's just throwing ideas out.
Speak up, money with.
All right, so, yeah.
So this guy, leave the snow where it is and have skiing.
Yes, I'm that guy that was up at 2 o'clock in the morning working maintenance at a factory. And I've been out all night too, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Now, I noticed on the parking lot, the you architects like to put little islands there and cute little trees. Do you know what a kind of a pain in the butt that is to move snow around? So, nice open parking lot, that'd be great. I know solar panels would be also great, but I know that's an added expense and that just adds more to the plan. But you would have like a covering that you can drive your vehicle underneath. And I don't know which way south is on that plan there, but maybe we could, in the future, make way for it. South is that way now? Okay, so the sun's coming in that way, that's perfect, right? For solar panels, for carports. They have them at the old Nipmuc school, they have them over, well, the next one I think was Dairy Queen over in Milford, they have them there too. And it's becoming more and more prevalent. So maybe that would help reduce the cost in the long run. But having an open parking lot for us snowplow drivers, that's a big plus.
And one of the issues is often, and I'm not sure about zoning may require the trees. And the other thing is, this is, absolutely, you're making really good points. My little granddaughter, Sophie, loves those trees. She loves those trees. And I'm halfway joking and halfway making a point that your point is a really good one, but then you're walking really slow. And it's just so how we balance all of this is a really good question, but really good, and I really appreciate your reminding us.
Yeah, so you can have the tree, but maybe not the island around it, that's all, got the asphalt berm.
Yeah.
You know, the downtown section, when they redid it, I'm sure it's a nightmare for the plow drivers to go in and out. We lost a lot of on-street parking because of that. It looks nice, but
yeah,
you lost the practicality.
yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay, thanks, David. So one of the things, some of these are getting really into the weeds in terms of the design. So I just want to explain the process first. Again, my name's Adam Gaudet, I'm the town manager, if anyone walked in late. We're undertaking a feasibility study. So what that means is exactly that. Is it feasible for us, when we study the needs and the deficiencies of what we have now and what we'd like to see based on the site and based on the compatibility with neighborhood, lighting, access, is this feasible to do at a reasonable cost? So that's really what we're undertaking. So if this would get approved at town meeting, and we had funds reserved for that, we would do it just like we did the fire station. We would then have money to go first do the process of the design, and then we get really into the weeds. Everything from what kind of door handles we have, to what colors we have on the wall, carpeting, not carpeting, where are the bathrooms, how high are they? That's going to be in the next phase, okay? And then obviously construction, all that will take probably 2 years. So as far as the timeline goes, the Board of Selectmen have already voted to put an article on the town meeting warrant. The town meeting this spring is May 6th, Tuesday night, and it's going to be held at the field house at the high school because we expect a lot of people to attend the meeting. So anyone remembers the last time we did that was during COVID, and we did the school building project. So look out for news information for that. The warrant's already closed, the article's on the warrant. Our plan is, just as David has, a lot of this is his homework to do. And then we're gonna move forward into April, and then ahead of town meeting, and we're gonna come back with another forum like this, fine tuning the design, and then in addition to that, have some solid cost estimates, and then I'll have another timeline associated with that. I do have some numbers here, but they're very preliminary, and I can talk about them and talk about anything else you want. I got the night set out for you guys, so if you want to ask me any questions about this or anything else, happy to answer tonight. We'll also have a forum, again, in April on this, going to town meeting. We have a number of other projects and other issues that we're having different forums on, having one on the Quaker Street landfill contamination next week with the Board of Health. A lot of stuff going on in town, which is exciting, and please feel free to reach out with any questions. So again, the goal for town meeting is to get authorization to borrow money to build whatever we decide to build, okay? It's authorization to borrow. That requires 2/3 of the vote at town meeting. It's not simple majority. Because it's borrowing, we obviously don't have the money in hand. And when you do a project, you have to phase in as you spend. We need permission to borrow. In addition to that, we will need a ballot question 2 weeks later at the annual election for the purposes of excluding the debt from the limits of Proposition 2.5. I'm not going to use the word override because that's different, that's operating. This is debt. So we have different debt service in hand right now. I don't have those documents, I'm working on them. I'll have them at the next meeting, I'll also put them online. But the debt that we have right now, obviously, is the new Balmer School, or also known as the Northbridge Elementary School. We have a few more years left on the Department of Public Works garage. We have the fire station. We do have approval from DET to do some roof repairs over there. And we have the demolition. The demolition MES has already started. So if any of you are abutters, you are on the mailing list. We've already advertised for a contractor. We had an owner's project manager on board for the last 6 months. We developed plans and specifications for the abatement, asbestos, and other things. So if you drive by the school now, you'll see a fence around it. And they're already inside doing different things like taking off doors and then working on different permits for the eventual abatement removal. And then we expect over the course of 2 or 3 months the demolition to occur. So there's a lot of information on the project website that I mentioned about the demolition. And in addition, as things are getting done here, we're putting that up as well. So again, the 2 important dates that we need to think about are May 6th town meeting at the Fieldhouse, 7 p.m. It's a Tuesday. That's the vote for all the stuff that we do in town, budget and other things, buy trucks, etc. But there'll be an article on there to ask voters that are at the town meeting, the ones that are at town meeting, 2/3 of those people, if they vote in favor of doing this project, then obviously the ballot is that much more important. Then we go to the ballot 2 weeks later. That's at the annual election. The only things that you're going to see on it are a couple of different town election races. And then there's the expectation the Board of Selectmen is going to vote to put this on the ballot, and that will be for the purposes of limiting or excluding the debt from 2.5. So both those need to happen. The vote at the election is simple majority. The vote at town meeting is 2/3. If everything goes well, and look at it that way, if everything is approved, I should say, then immediately after, then the Building Planning Construction Committee, lucky you guys, you're back to work and you get to work more with me. We would be working on, first thing would be advertising for an owner's project manager, just like we did for the fire station. Once we had that on board, then we would advertise an architect, and then we would come back in the fall and start these public hearings, just like we did with the fire station, where there was a schematic design, and then eventually you got to the point where there's construction documents, and it was eventually advertised. So typically a design of this type of structure, 8 to 12 months, construction 12 to 16 months. So there'd be a similar process. Does anyone have any questions about what approvals are required? What additional work David's going to be doing? We don't have a date yet set in April, but we know we're going to come back in about 30 days or so. We're not sure of the location yet. We're going to talk about that based on the people that are here. We may do a different space. But does anyone have any questions in terms of the process of what a feasibility study means, what the architect does that's a little different? Not that you're not right, or anything else, or do you want me to talk about what this means in terms of cost? All right. So the good news is, when I walked in up here, you guys don't have anything to worry about. Harry Berkowitz offered to pay for the whole So this is going to be hard to see, but this is what a debt schedule looks like. Again, I'm going to put this on the website. I'm going to walk you through this, and there's a lot of other documents that I'm going to have that are related to tax dollars. So one of the things I'm going to have up there on the website, and I can do it tomorrow, is what the tax rate currently is in town, what goes into that tax rate. I think it's about $9.65 is the base tax levy, and then everything up to $11.79, so call it $2.14 ballpark, is related to the debt that you have approved already. $11.79 is the current tax rate in town. So what this does is it takes a look at what the current tax rate is of $11.79 as of today, because I don't know what's going to be next year, what the current property values are in town. That's $2,789,375,840, and then assumes a borrowing rate of 5%, and then assumes a borrowing of 30 years, and assumes a cost of $15 million. So that's just a ballpark. So we don't have an exact cost yet. In discussions that David and I have had about the cost of senior centers and looking at what other projects are going for in the current climate before the tariff situation happened and post-COVID, so we're going through one crisis and back to another, is about $900 to $1,000 a square foot, okay? That doesn't necessarily include site work, doesn't necessarily include design, doesn't necessarily include a snowmobile. So those are the types of things that we're going to look at, where that's just construction costs. So what I did was, in my mind, took 13,000 square feet ballpark, buffed it up a little bit for the snowmobiles and everything else that people want, the horseshoes and then we came up with a number of 15 million. So don't hold me to that. It could be 14.6, it could be 16.8. Through the next couple of forums, you say we want a basketball court, and now it's 30 million. So, but as of today, where I think this is going, this is a good ballpark. Okay, so again, we'll have a 30-year timeline. The first fiscal year that we would expect any impact would be fiscal 27. Okay, so what that means is, like, so right now we have money in hand that we're utilizing for the feasibility services. Everything gets approved. Let's say over the course of May, we start hiring someone in the fall for an OPM and eventually an architect. We're spending small money. Eventually, we're spending tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands on design. We would use the cash that we have in hand to pay for all those bills, and then before June 30th of next year, which is the end of 26, we may do a temporary borrowing. If we do that, then as we move forward into finishing the design and construction, we would eventually do a permanent borrowing. Again, so now we're looking at fiscal year 27 in terms of when it would actually hit the tax rate. The good news for folks is that there are a couple of things that are coming off, so that when this is added, it won't be as big of an impact as if it was added today. A couple of those things, I've been asked about the turf field. We paid for that, that's done, it's gone, it's off. Well, we have some plans and projects that were approved in 2008 for the police station roof, fire station roof, middle school roof. There's a couple of payments left in FY '26 and FY '27, and then they're gone. The BBT, we did have something on for their expansion that they did 20 years ago. This is the last year of that payment. They did get approval for a roof project, but again, that's not gonna come on. They're gonna go through the same thing we're doing here, and probably until FY '27. So I'll show that additional documents so my finance committee members know. If you've been to previous town meetings or previous presentations, I have a color-coded thing in terms of when things are coming off and when things are coming on, and what that means when they're added to the tax rate that we're existing today. Okay? So again, we have a 30-year borrowing hitting the tax year of fiscal year 27. We have an even principal amount, $500,000 a year. Pretty simple, 30 divided by 15, and you get 500 a year. Then an interest payment, and as you go down, the interest rate or the interest impact goes down because you're now paying interest on that much less of what you paid the year before, right? And then, so the impact on the tax rate goes down over time. So I expect this is just, again, I guess, the highest it would be in year one would be about a 45-cent increase to the tax rate. So that would go from $11.79 to $12.24. And I think that's still pretty low in terms of, I know on our tax rate sheet, I'll show you at the next meeting, I think Hopedale's the highest of our comparable towns. It's at 16, and a lot of them are in 13s. I think something's 12.02. So that's not assuming that they do anything, other projects as well. So you'd still be in probably the 10th or 11th out of our 10 comparable towns. So one of the things we look at, I ask the assessor, what's the average home value in town? The average home value in town is about $488,000. What I did was I went 100,000 to the right and 100,000 to the left. So this column is if your house is in the ballpark range of 388,000. You can go to your local website and you go to the assessor's page and you can look up your property record card by your address or by your name, and you can see what your assessed value is. So it's not the price of what you paid for it, it's not the price of if you have it for sale, it's what we assess it at. So you have a middle or the average at 488, high 100,000 higher is 588, 388. I'll go right down the middle. The middle I have as an average per year over the life of 30 years is about $150. So the average taxpayer, average homeowner, okay? And then on the higher end it'd be about $187 per year, average over those 30 years. And then on the lower end, $123 a year for this $15 million project. So again, the first year it's going to be higher, and then it's going to be lower. The first year is $218 in the middle, and then all at the end is $91. But the average of that is about $150 over the course of the 30 years. So I'll have additional information. I just want to get some ballpark information out there because I know people are concerned. How much is it going to cost me? Is it $1,000? Is it $3,000? Is it $20? You know, so we're trying. A couple things that we do when we do projects. We did the same thing with the fire stations. These people that are expected to provide services to this town have certain expectations, and then the people that utilize those services have certain expectations on what the services they're going to get back, right, and the need. So we're trying to balance out all the things and all the great ideas that you have, but at the same time understanding that there's an affordability factor in every town, but obviously here in Northbridge for everyone. And everyone, I can't tell you when you go to the ballot if this is good for you or bad for you. That's going to be a personal decision. My job is just to get you the information that you need to make the decision for you, whether or not this is a project that you want to vote for, that you feel like you're getting the benefit, and this is a worthy cost to pay for it. All that comes together, and then you decide whether it's a yes or no. So, is there, you know, I have good expectations, having done so for a long time in different projects, in terms of what you'd like to see at the next meeting. But I'm happy to answer any questions on this or anything else to do with the project if anyone has any. Sorry.
How long is it going to take from start to finish?
For construction, from the time, from May, I would expect probably a 2-year timeline. The fire station was a little bigger. We probably moved in 2 years, but the closeout, it probably was a little longer. It's a smaller building, a lot smaller building. It's about half the size and a lot less of the intense type uses in the fire station. I'm using it as the most recent, but I would say ballpark 2 years.
Really?
I have a
One of the things that we have to do, just to answer that, a lot of people say 2 years, it's a long time, I can do a house in a year. Well, we have to follow Mass General law as a town. We have certain restrictions, we have to advertise, everything we're designed to do is designed to be open and fair competition such that we ensure getting a proper qualified person to do the work and then at a proper price that is fair. So when we hire an architect, we do it based on qualifications, we negotiate a fee. When we hire a designer, it's qualifications based, we advertise publicly. We just advertised for the library feasibility site project. I got 9 submissions, so the building committee is going to review 9 architects, narrow them down to 3, and then eventually 1. That is all open and fair. Anyone can put in, and if they meet the minimum requirements, we decide to bring them in, we interview, we hire them, we negotiate a fee. When you actually go to then bid the actual construction, in Massachusetts, there's 2 things we need to do. We have a sub-bid process and a general bid process. The first part is the sub-bids, which is, masonry, is, flooring, different things, electric, that are taken out, and then we get all these different bids for each one of those sub-bids, and then the general contractor 2 weeks later can then go and put a bid in, and using the low numbers of all of those subs, and then they bid. And if they're a qualified bidder, the lowest one is going to get the award, and that's what happened with the fire station. School's a little different because they did the design build, so it's a little different. So they had the architect on, or the contractor, I should say, on board throughout the design. These projects are a little different. But does anyone have any other questions about the process? Yeah.
What's going to happen to this building?
So,
Will we have to pay for the demolition of this building?
yeah, so what happens in this building is really up to the voters. So what's going to happen is my job is to make recommendations, pros and cons. I've made a recommendation that if this is approved, that the school administration building that's currently in the Fletcher House, they've been looking, since I've been here, they've been looking to get out of that building. It's very tight, small, to move them in here. To me, it would be a very simple transition. We have offices, they have an eating area, it's handicap accessible, it's primarily an office use with guests, parking, plenty. They don't need a playground and gardens and other things like that. It's an admin building. Then the Fletcher House, which the voters in town last fall agreed to put a preservation restriction on that property to protect the historical nature of whatever happens. And you can see from all the designs that we have, we left it in its current state. Our goal, my suggestion would be to give it to the local historical commission and operate it as a museum. Again, both of those don't involve much cost of tearing down or new construction. They're basically, they would be incorporated into our long-term capital plan, like all of our buildings. At some point we would have to, do the windows on here. At some point we'd have to, redo the carpet. So it would be incorporated like any other building in town. We're already doing it anyway. And then same thing with the Fletcher House. It'd be great for. There's a lot of things that have gone downtown. I know this guy doesn't like to talk much, but Ken Worchel's here. He's our local historian, and it'd be a great place for him to hang out and tell the story. We currently are known now a National Historic Park. Downtown Whitensville Crossroads has been identified by the federal government as a location that represents the truest mill village in its, in its state now, as close as it was back into the 1850s. So that would be an ideal, perfect world. There's not a lot of cost. I already have money set aside for outfitting IT and cubicles, about $100,000 here. Wouldn't be that much to do. And the Fletcher House, again, it's operating now, so it would just be to outfit that. That's not up to me. That's my recommendation. School committee may have other ideas about what they want to do, whether or not they want to be relocated here. It's too far away from the other schools, It's just, first step is, what do we do with that site? And the site seems a great location for what David's presented and would meet the needs, expanded needs of what is here now. What happens after that? Again, I'll work on whatever you guys ask me to do. I did the recreational park, failed, I came back the next day. So, I'll be here, whatever you just tell me what you want, what information you need to help you make a decision, and that's what we're going to do for you, because that's what you expect us to do. So, great question. Anyone else? Questions?
Okay, on the projects that are coming up, Is there like a flex factor as far as money goes, and is it like bonded in case it's a cost overrun? We can apply that to the contractor and say, whoa, I didn't know that was gonna happen, and it's gonna cost us another 20,000 more, or whatever.
So the only project I have under construction right now is the demo. So the demo, the good news is we estimated high, which is what you should do. You don't want to go back to town meeting unless COVID happens and things go up and have to. But with the demo, it actually, so we budgeted 2.5 million. The bids actually came in about $300,000 lower. So we still have contingency left, so could we use that money? Yeah, but we already had contingency built in. My hope, don't hold me to it, I'm going to be recording, it'd be about 1.8 instead of about 2.5, which is going to be better than what I, when I went and I showed this is what 2.5 will cost you on the tax rate. So that's good news. The good news is the market is good for construction, and that this is, people want projects, and the interest rates are still not as low as we'd like them to be. I have an estimated 5. I can tell you for the Balmer School project, that project was originally estimated at $100 million. We showed 5%. We only spent 92. So we didn't borrow that additional $8 million. So that's good news. We're not. I know other towns, what they've done is they've taken that $8 million and then they've gone and got a vote to change it to something else, or they kept spending it and said, hey, let's now do a turf field at the Balmer School, or hey, let's put irrigation in the baseball field. So our school building committee, I know a couple representatives are here, they didn't do that. They gave the money back because it didn't go. They got what they needed, built what they needed, stopped there. So that's a good thing. But in terms of other projects going on, I mean, the library is going through a feasibility study. There is a process. Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners, they've awarded them a grant of $100,000 plus the town voters put aside $150 last year as a grant match to start doing some schematic design work with an architect. We currently are reviewing the OPM with my building committee on the 27th. Once they're on board, then we would hire an architect. They would take it to, say, 20% design, and then they would come back and kind of a similar process what we're doing now, and if it's something that the town wants to do. The good news about that project is it's very similar to the school project, and there's a large match, called 50%, so unfortunately here, there's not a match. So something to consider. I'll show you on the next meeting. I'll put it on, I think I can put it up tomorrow, tweak it a little bit, and you'll see what the expected impact is over the next 5 years with what's coming off and what may come on.
Okay. Any grants? Can we get any grants?
So, grants.
No.
I mean, right now, there's nothing coming from the federal government. So, not that there ever was much coming, but, and as far as the state grants, and I had this presentation before and talked about somebody asked me about the recreation park and grants. The grants that the state is giving right now is for housing. Okay, so that's what you need on. If you go to the state's website, you read anything the governor's talking about, her address, all those things, the grants that have come available. We do apply for different grants related to economic development, and there's some specific ones. We got a grant for the town hall annex. So I got a grant for $750,000, which we received. That's going to go into the rehab of that building. That rehab of that building is going to be undertaken by the White Community Center. So we got them a grant. We had some federal money that came in from COVID recovery. We paid for an architect to do some design work. They're going to renovate that building. They're going to go in and they're going to renovate it into 4 additional classrooms because they're outgrowing their facility across the street. So that is coming off the tax rolls and also coming off the utility bills. Yeah. Any other questions?
Can I just take 10 seconds here? The only reason you want to consider all those little numbers on the last slide, because you feel like all the other slides before make the case that your legs could be better. And that's part of my job, is to be responsive to you. I really appreciate all the input from you. But this is about you making it work for your family and friends. And then there are all those numbers, but don't forget the other stuff. So thank you very much, and we'll talk again.
All right, before we go, I want to ask David, could you do me a favor and take the 3 plans of the whole site and make 3 24 by 48 cardboard cutouts that Kelly could put on easels downstairs, so people could walk in and they could look. And then what Kelly will do is leave some paper out and maybe a suggestion box, and people can then comment. I'm here, I'm yours. Any other questions, any other projects? Sick of me?